Imagine walking barefoot across frozen ground. No shoes, no sandals, nothing at all. For most of human history, that was normal. Sharp rocks, freezing ice, burning desert sand. The human foot faced all of it, unprotected. Then, at some point, something changed. Someone wrapped their foot in animal hide. So when did ancient humans first wear shoes? The answer is older and stranger than expected. Today, we dig through ice, caves, and graves. This is the story of the very first shoe. Stay until the end for the strangest clue of all. It comes from a grave, not a shoe at all. Human feet were not always desperate for protection. Bare feet toughen with constant daily use. Thick skin builds up on the soles. Early humans walked, ran, and hunted barefoot. Their feet adapted to rough, natural ground. But bare feet still carried real risks. Cuts, infections, frostbite in freezing climates. A single deep wound could threaten survival. In icy regions, exposed skin froze quickly. Frostbite could cripple a person for life. Some environments simply demanded more protection. This need grew stronger as humans spread further, out of Africa and into far colder lands. Ice Age Europe and Asia turned brutally cold. Bare feet alone could not survive there long. Something had to change, and change quickly. The earliest solution was likely incredibly simple. Wrap the foot in soft, flexible hide. Tie it in place with a leather cord. A crude, simple shoe built purely from necessity. But hide and leather rarely survive the ages. They rot away long before stone or bone. So how do scientists trace something that vanished? The answer lies not in shoes, but in bones. Specifically, the small bones of the toes. Walking barefoot builds strong, thick little toes. Bare feet constantly grip and adjust to terrain. This grip keeps the smaller toe bones dense. But supportive shoes change how feet actually move. A shoe reduces the need for constant gripping. Over generations, that changes bone structure itself. Smaller, weaker toe bones begin to appear. A researcher named Eric Trinkos studied this pattern. He compared toe bones across many ancient skeletons. Older skeletons showed thick, powerful little toes. Then, around 40,000 years ago, a shift appeared. Toe bones in some skeletons grew noticeably weaker. This pattern showed up first in Eastern Asia, at a site known as Tianyuan Cave in China. The skeleton found there is remarkably old. Its toe bones hinted at something surprising. Supportive footwear may have already existed by then, not proof of a shoe itself, but a clue. A quiet signal, written directly into human bone. This evidence remains indirect and still debated today. Some scientists urge caution before drawing firm conclusions. Bone changes could come from other causes too. Still, the pattern is striking and hard to ignore, and it points toward a surprisingly ancient origin. For a discovery most people rarely think about. For direct physical evidence, we travel to Russia, to a site known as Sunghir, near Vladimir. Here, archaeologists uncovered an extraordinary ancient burial, skeletons dating back roughly 34,000 years, buried with thousands of small carved ivory beads. At first, the beads seemed simply decorative, but their exact positions told a deeper story. Rows of beads wrapped tightly around the ankles and across the tops of both feet. The leather and hide themselves had long decayed, but the beads remained exactly where they were sewn. This revealed the ghostly shape of ancient footwear. Likely soft, moccasin-style boots, richly decorated, sewn with incredible care and detailed patience. Each bead individually carved from mammoth ivory. Creating a single boot could take enormous time. This was not a simple, crude foot wrap. It was skilled, deliberate, and clearly valued work. Footwear, it seems, had already become an art form. 34,000 years ago, in the depths of winter, this remains one of the oldest signs of true footwear, even without a single scrap of surviving leather. Sometimes, the smallest details tell the biggest stories. A few carved beads, and thousands of years later, we can still see the shape of a boot. For actual surviving footwear, we travel across the world. to a dry, sheltered cave in Oregon, known today as Fort Rock Cave. Inside, archaeologists uncovered dozens of ancient sandals, woven tightly from twisted sagebrush bark. Flat, simple, and surprisingly well constructed. These sandals date back roughly 10,000 years, among the oldest surviving footwear ever discovered. The dry desert air helped preserve them perfectly, a rare stroke of luck for archaeologists. Most ancient footwear rots away completely, unseen. These sandals survived only because conditions were ideal. The weaving technique was remarkably consistent, suggesting a skill passed carefully between generations, not a single invention, but a shared tradition, worn again and again, repaired, and eventually replaced. Some sandals even showed clear, repeated repairs, a valuable, practical object worth carefully maintaining. This discovery reshaped what scientists thought possible. Proof that organized footwear existed far earlier than assumed, long before metal tools or written language existed. Humans were already solving the problem of bare feet, using nothing more than plant fiber and patience. A quiet, clever solution hidden in a desert cave, waiting nearly 10,000 years to be found. For the oldest surviving leather shoe, we travel to Armenia, to a remote cave known as Arini 1. Archaeologists exploring the cave made an astonishing find, a single leather shoe, remarkably intact, dating back roughly 5,500 years, making it the oldest known leather shoe on Earth. Crafted from a single, carefully cut piece of hide, laced tightly using a long leather cord. The design closely resembled a simple moccasin. Soft, flexible, and shaped closely to the foot. Inside, researchers found something unexpected. Dried grass, likely stuffed in to help the shoe hold its shape, or perhaps for a little added warmth and comfort. The cave itself helped preserve this shoe perfectly. Cool, dry air, and a thick layer of sheep dung. Strange as it sounds, this sealed the shoe safely. Nearby, researchers also found ancient winemaking equipment. This cave clearly held great importance long ago. The shoe was found alone, almost perfectly preserved, a small, ordinary object from an extraordinary moment in time. For the most advanced ancient footwear, we travel to the Alps. There, hikers stumbled upon a frozen, ancient body. The world would come to know him as Z. He lived roughly 5,300 years ago, preserved almost perfectly by centuries of glacial ice. Alongside his body, researchers found his complete shoes. And what they found stunned footwear historians completely. These were not simple wraps of animal hide. They were carefully engineered, multi-part shoes. An outer layer of tough, waterproof deer hide. A separate sole cut from thick bear hide, stitched together using thin, strong leather cord. Inside, a woven net made of tree bark fiber. This netting held loose, insulating grass in place. A built-in insulation system, thousands of years old. Essentially, an ancient version of a modern winter boot, designed specifically to survive freezing mountain conditions. This level of skill stunned even experienced researchers. It proved ancient people understood insulation deeply, long before anyone wrote down the science behind it. Titsy's shoes remain one of the finest examples known of just how advanced prehistoric craftsmanship could be. A single pair of shoes telling an enormous story about survival, skill, and the mountains he once crossed. Once shoes existed, their meaning quickly expanded. They were no longer only about survival alone. Decoration, like the beads found at Sungir, mattered too. A shoe could show skill, care, and status. Different regions developed strikingly different footwear styles, shaped by climate, materials, and local tradition. Cold regions favored thick, insulated, layered designs. Warmer regions favored lighter, simpler, breathable sandals. Each design solved the same problem in its own way. Protect the foot, using whatever the land provided. Leather, bark, woven grass, stitched fur. Whatever was available, ancient hands found a way. This adaptability reveals something remarkable about early humans. Endless creativity applied to a single shared problem. The problem of a fragile, unprotected human foot. solved again and again in dozens of different ways, across deserts, mountains, forests, and frozen tundra. Every version tells its own small piece of the story. A story stitched together from bark, bone, and bead, slowly forming the full picture we understand today. Yet even this picture remains far from complete, because so much of this story has simply vanished. Which brings us to one final haunting thought. Leather, bark, and plant fiber rarely survive long. Within decades, most ancient footwear simply disappears. Only rare conditions allow it to survive at all. Bone-dry caves, frozen glaciers, sealed layers of dung. Without these rare conditions, evidence simply rots away. This means our picture is almost certainly incomplete. Countless ancient shoes have vanished without a trace, worn by people whose names we will never know. Every confirmed discovery is really a rare exception. Not the full story, but a small surviving fragment. The true first shoe may never be found at all, lost to time long before archaeology ever began. This uncertainty is not a failure of the science. It is simply the nature of studying deep time. Every fragment found is treated as a genuine gift, a rare window into an otherwise invisible history. And so the search continues, cave by cave. Each new discovery quietly reshaping what we thought we knew. Let us return to where this story first began. A single bare foot facing a harsh, unforgiving world. From that vulnerability, a slow transformation began. First, simple wrapped hide, worn against the cold. Then, faint clues hidden inside ancient toe bones. Then, thousands of beads, marking a boot long decayed. Then, woven sandals, preserved by dry desert air. Then, a single leather shoe, sealed by chance in a cave. Then, Tsi's shoes, engineered for the harshest mountains. Each discovery revealing another piece of the same story. Humans, again and again, solving the same simple problem. How do you protect something as fragile as a foot? The answers ranged from desperate to remarkably advanced. But every answer shared the very same root. Ingenuity, born from necessity, and refined by time. From bark and grass to bead and hide. Humanity slowly learned to walk more safely, across ice, across desert, across stone and snow. This is the story of the very first shoe. A story still being uncovered, one cave at a time. Thank you for walking through this ancient story with us, from frozen toe bones to a shoe frozen in ice. If you enjoyed uncovering this hidden history, leave a like. For more forgotten stories, subscribe to this channel. So many strange chapters of history remain uncovered. Tell us in the comments what surprised you most. The beaded boots of Sunghir? Or Tsi's frozen shoes? Whatever it was, thank you for exploring it with us. We'll see you in the next journey into the past. Consider how much a foot actually endures daily. Constant pressure, friction, heat, and sudden impact. Every step carries the full weight of the body. A single misstep could mean serious, lasting injury. In dense forests, thorns posed a constant danger. In deserts, scorching sand could blister skin quickly. Every landscape presented its own unique threat. And every threat pushed early humans toward one goal: find some way to shield the foot from harm. Trinkhaus based his research on careful bone measurements, comparing hundreds of ancient skeletons across many sites. The pattern he found was subtle but consistent, a gradual weakening spreading slowly across populations, not sudden but steady, like a quiet transformation. This kind of evidence requires patience to interpret. Bones do not announce their secrets easily. They must be measured, compared, and questioned carefully. The Sunghir burial held more than just two skeletons. Multiple individuals were buried there with great care, each adorned with thousands of carefully placed beads. Some researchers estimate months of labor went into this. Ivory itself had to be carved by hand, one bead at a time. This was clearly no ordinary, hurried burial. It suggests deep respect for those being buried. Their footwear, it seems, mattered even in death. Fort Rock Cave held far more than sandals alone. Baskets, tools, and other woven items were found nearby. This suggests a broader tradition of skilled weaving. Sandal making was likely just one part of daily life, passed down alongside basket weaving and tool making. A whole toolkit of practical, everyday knowledge. Footwear fit neatly within this wider set of skills. The Arini 1 cave was first explored for other reasons. Researchers were initially searching for ancient winemaking evidence. The shoe was found almost by accident nearby, tucked beneath layers of dust and dried debris. Its survival still surprises researchers studying the region. Few organic materials endure so many thousands of years. This single shoe became a global archaeological sensation. Proof that ancient footwear could survive under the right conditions. Tazi carried more than just his shoes into the mountains: a copper axe, a bow, and a quiver of arrows. His equipment revealed a skilled, well-prepared traveler, someone who understood how to survive extreme conditions. His shoes fit naturally within this careful preparation. Every piece of his gear served a clear purpose. Nothing about his equipment appears accidental or careless. His shoes were simply one part of a larger system. Footwear also began shaping how people moved and worked. Protected feet could travel further and more safely. This may have opened up new hunting grounds and new trade routes across difficult, rugged terrain. A small object, quietly expanding the reach of humanity. Footwear did not just protect. It enabled exploration. Some ancient burial sites reveal even more surprising details. Footwear placed carefully beside the body, not worn at all. Perhaps meant as a gift for a journey beyond life. A final, practical offering for whatever came next. This idea appears in various forms across many cultures. Footwear meant for walking somewhere entirely unknown. Every culture eventually faced the same basic challenge: how to move safely across their own unique landscape. The solutions varied, but the underlying need stayed constant. Protect the foot, extend its reach and its lifespan. A single, quiet invention, repeated endlessly across the ancient world, from frozen mountains to sun-scorched deserts and dense forests. Each environment writing its own chapter of this story, together forming a picture far larger than any single find, a picture of human adaptability, stitched together in leather and bark.